Welcome to this new automotive news video for Sunday, April 26, 2026. And today we're going to talk about Renault, which is giving new information about an engine they've developed that can be installed on any electric car to turn it into a hybrid vehicle. We'll also discuss Stellantis, which is introducing a new generation four-cylinder gasoline engine. And by coincidence, or maybe irony, we'll talk about a new recall that concerns a gasoline engine from the Stellantis group. A recall that, as you'll see, is actually full of surprises. And then we'll talk about Ecolo, so don't get too excited just yet. Ecolo is a brand that created a new device to lower fuel use, mainly for diesel engines. Today we'll focus on engines. I hope you enjoy this video, and if you do, please show your support. You can leave a like, you can subscribe for the next videos, and you can boost this one if the option appears for you. In fact, that's actually the most important thing if you want to give my channel a little boost in terms of visibility. You can also leave a comment to share your opinion. Renault took advantage of the Beijing Auto Show to unveil the C15 now. It has nothing to do with the Citroën utility vehicle. The C15 is the name of their new engine, developed through its engine development branch, ORS, which is the result of a partnership between Renault, the Chinese brand Geely, and also the oil company Aramco. So this new engine is called the C15 X-Range Direct Drive, and it's a pretty unique engine, since it was designed by Renault to be installed on any electric car to turn it into a hybrid. So here we're really talking about a combustion engine that was designed not to act as a range extender, as is sometimes the case, for example, what Renault wants on its upcoming Megane. For example, installing combustion engines that don't drive the wheels but generate electricity to recharge the electric vehicle while driving. We're talking about a combustion engine that can directly drive the wheels. It's a 1.5-liter four-cylinder that will be available in two versions: a naturally aspirated version with 95 horsepower and a turbo version with 163 horsepower. One advantage of this solution is that it offers an all-in-one package, including the engine, suitable transmission, control units, electronic management, and two electric motors, since this is a hybrid engine, not just a combustion engine. We also learned that this might be the engine's only major technical constraint. That because of the exhaust, since the floor of electric cars was not designed to accommodate an exhaust system, which seems quite logical to avoid having to modify the platforms and also to avoid having to run an exhaust line along the entire length of the vehicle. The exhaust here is just at the engine's outlet, which is why ORS recommends installing this engine directly at the rear of the vehicles in question. ORS stated the engine will be fully modular and, for example, could also be connected. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing how that's going to work because, in my opinion, it's going to be a bit of a custom job for each brand. But it would be possible to connect it to the electric motor already present at the front of an electric car, to turn it into a kind of super hybrid, and also to turn it into an all-wheel drive car, with the electric motor for the front wheels and the hybridized combustion engine at the rear for the rear wheels. At first, when Renault announced this, it seemed like science fiction. But the number one requirement in the development specifications for this project was ease of use, that it should be plug and play. That means manufacturers wouldn't have to produce conversion kits or rework the electric car's platform to be able to install this famous engine. So now you might ask me what the point is, and the point isn't really for us because it's not about going online on Renault's website and buying a special electric car engine that we can install ourselves. It's more for the manufacturers. Actually, what's happening is that even though electric car sales are clearly accelerating, they're still very far from where they should have been. As a result, there are manufacturers who have invested billions to develop 100% electric cars with specific platforms and powertrains, and now they find themselves a bit trapped because they don't necessarily have the ability to invest billions more to modify existing platforms or to develop new ones. To keep offering their customers hybrid or combustion engine cars, they don't necessarily have the time either, because developing cars isn't something you can do with the snap of a finger. It usually takes several years for a single model. Here, the aim is to offer a turnkey solution. Imagine you're a brand that has stumbled a bit with electric vehicles, and you need to quickly offer a combustion engine solution to your customers. Well, you'll order this engine from ORS, and you have almost nothing to adapt on your base car at the factory to be able to come out with hybrid versions. Well now, as usual, the big question is, will it be reliable? Because it's all well and good to develop engines, but if they're worn out after 50,000 kilometers, I'm not sure that's really appealing. It's been a while since we talked about a new recall concerning engines at Stellantis, but now we can reset the counter. Because Stellantis is recalling its plug-in hybrids equipped with the 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder GME engine. This recall is quite unusual because it's a recall within a recall. What happened is that in 2025, Stellantis had already recalled several plug-in hybrid models equipped with this engine, especially Jeep vehicles, they had recalled them. Because during the casting process of different engine parts, sand is used to mold aluminum parts, and in some cases, this sand had not been completely removed after production. Sometimes there were still a few grains of sand left, and these tiny grains of sand, when the engine was running, could literally break it from the inside. Stellantis issued this recall. In 2025, they replaced some engines, and sometimes they only replaced certain parts. And in fact, they realized in April 2026 that among these vehicles that had been recalled, and among these parts that had been replaced, some of them came from a very well-known supplier called Mopar, which provides a lot of parts for Jeep vehicles, for example. And Mopar, on some of these spare parts, was the victim of exactly the same problem. That is to say, here too, there are small sand residues from the molds used during the foundry processes that remained on these parts, and which can, in the end, cause exactly the same problem as the one that was identified, leading to this original recall. So Stellantis is recalling cars that have already been recalled to fix the same problem, but this time it doesn't come from the same place. And for once, it's not their fault. It's Mopar's fault. The good news is that Stellantis will soon be able to put this whole story behind them, since they are in the process of replacing the 2-liter GME with a brand new engine on several of their models. Indeed, Stellantis announced at the end of 2025 the arrival of a new 4-cylinder gasoline engine, the 2-liter Hurricane, a 4-cylinder turbo gasoline engine, which can develop in its most powerful versions up to 320 horsepower with a torque of about 450 Nm, and uses technology to reduce its fuel consumption. A system that comes from F1 called TGI for turbulent jet ignition, which is based on a pre-chamber combustion system. Specifically, there's a small chamber located above each cylinder that initiates a first combustion, which is then propagated into the main chamber in the form of a jet. This results in a more precise, faster combustion, which also allows for a bit of fuel savings. It's not a brand new technology within the Stellantis group since it was already used on the V6 Nettuno. So, let's say on vehicles that are a bit more high-end. Since these were essentially engines that were used in Maseratis, this engine was designed and developed in Italy. And yet, the first model to get it is not Italian at all. It will be the Jeep Grand Cherokee in 2026. For now, only the versions sold in the United States will get it. Even though the entire engine was developed in Europe, for now, there is no European vehicle planned with this engine, for the simple reason that this engine emits too much CO2 for Stellantis to meet its annual European CO2 targets. To finish, let's talk about Ecolo. So, once again, take a deep breath, breathe in, and open your chakras, because we're going to talk here about internal combustion engines, more specifically diesel, that work with water injection systems. That's exactly what Ecolo is proposing. The principle of the water injection engine isn't new. It's been known for decades, and it was even used almost 100 years ago. In the 1940s, it was used in the aviation sector, and it was also used for large ship engines or industrial engines. The concept is very simple. Water doesn't provide any energy at all. It doesn't replace fuel. There's no magic involved. On the other hand, water injected in very small amounts, often as vapor, can have an effect on combustion. Inside the engine, for example, it can cool the combustion chamber and reduce the possibility of knocking. And sometimes it also allows for an increase in the compression ratio, and thus improves the overall efficiency of combustion. Overall, it allows for lower consumption, but it also helps in some cases to reduce pollutant emissions, such as the well-known nitrogen oxides, NOx, or fine particles. It might seem a bit fanciful, but it's something that has really been explored by a whole bunch of very serious brands. BMW, Renault, Saab, even Porsche. Ecolo developed its own solution, and it has been adopted by about 50,000 customers according to the data provided by Ecolo. The solution is based on a dedicated water tank. Water is converted to steam in a module, then injected into the engine's air intake, whether it's gasoline or diesel. And in the end, it requires very few mechanical modifications. It's more of an addition than a modification. In fact, in practice, customers report fuel consumption reductions of about 20%. A solution sold for 500 to 900 euros is fairly easy and quick to pay off, requiring about 20 fill-ups, according to Ecolo. The magic doesn't stop there, since this system would also improve the engine's efficiency and give it a bit more torque, an increase at low revs. And as for water consumption, it would cost almost nothing, only between 10 and 20 centiliters for every 1,000 kilometers traveled, which is the equivalent of a small glass. Not even that. We're talking here about a system that can be adapted to just about any vehicle. But overall, still, it's mainly a system that was designed for professionals and for larger vehicles, vans, trucks, that have high fuel consumption, because that's really where it will represent a financial benefit. In any case, Ecolo explained that they've seen a sharp increase in demand in recent months with the oil crisis, if we can call it that. Obviously, it's not the only company offering this kind of system. There's also Hybrido, which is perhaps the best known, and which is also probably the one that's growing the fastest right now, thanks to this increase in orders and requests in recent months. Now, it wants to build a network of partners on a European scale to increase production, ensure better European distribution, make installation easier, and above all, make system maintenance easier. We'll see. Maybe in the coming years, the vehicle fleet may have to rely on a mix of water and electricity. That's all for this Sunday's news. If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, and become a supporter using the join button. See you tomorrow for more news. Bye.